Da, da, da. Yes, we do in fact have audio.
Hells yeah.
Alright. And that should be long enough to auto-generate a thumbnail. Alright.
I don't know. Pit Denny says, boom, good morning.
Yes, indeed. Hey, where's the thing? I'm almost out of frame.
Oh.
Yeah, good morning.
Hey!
Indeed. Oh, look, and there's Ma.
Good morning, Ma.
And then there's Megan. Let's see. Dan Burks, good morning. Steve.
Indeed.
Sean Stryker. And, yeah, that's everybody that said something in the chat this morning.
So, and it's Thursday.
And it is indeed Thursday. You know, man, I really could go for some mean tweets and some Toter Win Thursdays.
I sure could.
Oh.
What's the opposite of a Toter Win?
I mean, a fail of some kind, obviously.
Well, I think if gas is $5 a gallon and you're sending 5 million barrels overseas...
And let's be clear, this is 5 million barrels that came from our strategic petroleum reserve. And some of this oil even ended up in China.
And, okay, so, couple things I want y'all to understand. And I see everybody keeps talking about how Boris is out. Yeah. Okay, it's been apparently a busy couple of days. America's birthday got shot up. The Georgia Guidestones got blown up. There's this Jayland Walker guy that had a bad day. Had a real bad day. Apparently Boris Johnson has stepped down as the leader of the party. He'll be out as prime minister in a few months. So basically, when you get elected as prime minister, they talk about forming a government, which technically is what a president does in America, is he forms a new government when he's elected. But I think they take it a little more formally, and because basically what they're talking about is hiring all the staff. And I would say that honestly, the biggest mistake Donald Trump made in his entire presidency, with a close second being his cave on bump stocks, where the mistake he made was just expecting Democrats to play fair. The biggest mistake Donald Trump made was he didn't fire everybody and start over. But
well, that stuff with Boris Johnson is actually part of why I don't want us to become a multi-party system that has like the tiered voting and like your first and second choice, because part of what happens in those sorts of parliaments is they have to constantly shift their alliances around, and in order to form a functional government, the party that you have nothing in common with might have gotten the second largest number of votes.
Right. So you have to find a single issue to work together on.
Or you have to get together with all of the other parties in order to freeze that one party out.
Right.
And look, our government is deliberately designed to move slow and have checks and balances. There's a difference between slow and inefficient. So,
and the funny thing about inefficient is it's expensive. Like gas.
Like gas. And so, just one other thing real quick. You know what Boris Johnson is actually a victim of? The very...
Letterbox people?
Very much so. But no, he's the head of a government that went woke, okay? And there are pictures of him not being locked down during lockdown. I mean, that's part of what started all this controversy. No, it's not just him. You could probably find pictures of that entire fucking parliament doing that.
Yep.
But Boris Johnson is the Donald Trump-esque figure, and they've got him. They've got him, and he doesn't have Trump's... Yeah, so what? I slept with a supermodel kind of attitude.
Right.
And so that's the end.
Oh, no, you caught me sleeping with a supermodel. Dude, have you seen supermodels? I mean, come on. Right? And everybody sits around and nods. They're like, yeah, okay. That's fair.
Yeah.
You've got a point. So, let's talk about the Strategic Oil Reserve for a second. And directly related, I want you to understand something. There was the Supreme Court decision to kind of reinvigorate dedication to the Second Amendment and clarify that no, in fact, New York, California, Hawaii, New Jersey, you guys, you are criminals as states. You've been engaged in crime by denying people their civil rights. And the response to that, of course, was in Canada was, well, we are going to affirm that there is no right for a person to defend their lives against violent attackers. You do not have a right to keep and bear arms. In Canada, says the Prime Minister. And so something I want you to understand about Canada is we're talking about America's hat, who has a strategic, I shit you not, an emergency strategic maple syrup reserve.
You may take our lives, but you will never take our pancakes.
There's this great show called Battle Creek, and it has the guy that plays Mayhem for the insurance commercials as this bitter cop that's been stuck in this tiny little town in Canada. And I think it's the third or fourth episode where they're dealing with black market maple syrup producers, and the whole episode is a riff on Breaking Bad. Like, the maple syrup labs very much look like meth labs. It's hilarious. But anyway, so yeah, I just want you to remember that our critics, the critics of liberty, prosperity, and wealth in America, our critics hold maple syrup reserves, while we hold the oil reserves, while we have a strategic oil reserve. Now, as we're watching old Creepy Joe here, who, I mean, just every day looks more and more like a still frame from choosing the wrong chalice at the end of The Last Crusade.
That's good. He chose poorly.
Either that or it looks like he just opened the Ark and he's just in the middle of it.
That was Papa Sheepdog's favorite scene in Indiana Jones and The Last Crusade.
The candle people?
No. He would quote it and be like, "Oh, so you chose poorly." Like, every time we watch the movie, he would chuckle right there at the end. Like, the guys die on the horrible, agonizing death, and my dad's over there.
It's like, oh, I get it. The chalice of Christ is a metaphor for the welfare state. So anyway, or maybe more correctly, the actual chalice of Christ is a metaphor for a job.
Yeah.
So.
Oh, Megan says he looks like the priest from he does. Have you ever seen Poltergeist 2?
It's been a long time, but yes.
But he does look like the priest. Wow, Megan. Wow. I wonder how we could make a meme out of that. Anyhow, okay. 10 minutes in, and
hey, I think we're doing good. We've had some solid jokes and mentioned a shitload of headlines that are going to help the algorithm and the search engine optimization.
Yeah, so we sent a million barrels of oil to China while...
And here's another thing that I want everybody to understand. Biden has no intention of restocking the American Strategic Oil Reserve. Now, how do I know this? I've got a few pieces of evidence that I'd like to present in support of that position. During the pandemic, one of the crises that we faced was a shortage of PPE, personal protective equipment, ventilators, and the like, all of which had been depleted from our strategic emergency medical reserves by the Obama-Biden administration for, I believe that was for the swine flu that just didn't kill all that many people by comparison.
Well, actually, it did. It just wasn't. It wasn't.
It wasn't politically convenient
to turn it into a terrifying pandemic.
To use it to oust a popular Republican president?
Yeah, it turns out that once every 10 years a virus mutates and gets a little scary.
Yeah.
Like it's not a terribly uncommon occurrence.
COVID just happened to have really convenient timing for the enemy.
And really convenient Chinese.
Chinese are never convenient.
The Chinese would disagree. They feel like they're extremely convenient and patient. Well, look,
so
the PPE.
So we're talking about somebody who was party to the depletion of one of our strategic reserves, one of our important strategic reserves, and then never replaced the equipment. Now, I'm not pushing in this episode all the way down the rabbit hole into the tinfoil hat theory that was done on purpose, knowing that the pandemic was incoming and they wanted to cause the greatest amount of harm possible by intentionally leaving America ill-prepared to deal with the pandemic that would most likely occur during the following administration, which, given the record of the Obamas and the prospects of Clinton, were just a likely outcome. I don't need to go down the rabbit hole and make those claims to support the claim that I'm making now, that's exactly what's happening with the oil. So we saw the Obama-Biden administration deplete an important reserve and then not repair it. Add to that the actual platform of Joe Biden and the Democrats going into the 2020 election included, and has included since Obama ran for office.
Yep.
Obama made these promises as well, that the objective is to raise gas prices and price you out of the fuel market in an attempt to force everyone to buy an electric car.
Well, Obama went after coal. Let's be clear. Obama was more focused on...
He was more vocal on coal, yes, but Obama did explicitly say that he wanted to see gas prices go up to make people make the choices that he wanted them to make.
I thought he just said energy prices. I know, because it happened just a couple of years ago that Biden said basically the same thing. Like, it's going to be a transition and it's painful, and so there's a lot going on there. First of all, it's funny that you mention all those PPE reserves. The petroleum industry is not just a petroleum industry. There's all these petrocarbons associated with it, like your plastics that go into your medical equipment. Y'all realize a lot of that shit is a byproduct of oil.
Yep.
Okay? Like, we're not just talking about choking off gas. Let's just assume that getting rid of gas was a good thing, just for a moment. We're also getting rid of all that other stuff, like your disposable needles, so you don't accidentally transmit bloodborne viruses in the middle of, say, a pandemic. Yeah. That's you got to have the oil for those. So there's that. But then there's the fact that oil is a commodity that's always a long-term investment. And the Biden administration has signaled from the beginning that in less than a decade, they want their capacity decreased. So what Biden wants is for oil companies to temporarily raise production now, even though they'll lose money doing it, okay? But we promise, guys, it's all going to be okay. So when you've got the pressure coming from the fact that oil takes a long time to be profitable, and the Saudis are maxed out, just ask the French president, okay?
Yeah, Macron.
It's not like we couldn't do more, okay? It's just the Biden administration has already told the energy companies, if you do more, you'll lose money. And so, surprise, surprise, they're not doing more. And who was it? Was it Pete Buttigieg that said this wouldn't hurt so bad if you were driving an electric vehicle?
And you know, it would be awesome if everybody could drive an electric vehicle. But listen, Buttigieg, you took 3 months off and nobody missed you. Just do that again.
Well, not only that, but
because you're clearly not getting your job done.
Well, not only that, but like the power for those electric vehicles has to come from somewhere. And here's one of the things that you just can't move past. Part of the reason why the internal combustion engine has remained largely unchanged for the past century is because, well, I don't want to say that it's flawless, but it is literally one of the most efficient energy production devices ever. The thought that you could take a few gallons of gas and drive your car that weighs several hundred pounds over 100 miles is amazing if you think about it.
Yeah.
And
yeah,
there's simply no substitute for it.
Now, real quick, Stryker says big oil runs the energy policy. They just want to gouge us. I'm tired of that old saw. That's bullshit. All you have to do is look at reality. While Trump was president and gas was under $2 a gallon, the oil companies were still posting record profits at those rates. The fact of the matter is that the price of gas is dictated by the market, and the oil companies will charge what the market will bear, which is a reasonable economic maneuver. The price that we're looking at now is related to how much it costs to produce the oil, ship the oil from overseas where it's being produced now because of Biden policies, and then get it to your end point of sale. The oil, it's not that the oil companies don't set prices. It is that they set prices like every other commodity, every other product, based on the cost plus a markup for profit. And yes, there's profit. It's a business. If you're doing business and you're not making profit, then you're not doing good business, because the point to doing business is to make a profit. Now, ideally, it is to make a profit by providing a good or service that people want to buy. And I'm going to tell you something. I want to buy gas because the alternatives are either too expensive or inconvenient.
Or have their own problems. Like, apparently electric vehicles don't do well once you go below freezing. And when it's below freezing is when you want your car to not fail you. Like, it's... There's a lot going on there. And Sean, I see you that oil companies have ties to very powerful people. And yes, that is absolutely true. And no doubt there are dirty dealings that happen. However, because of what oil is almost like water or power, okay? Yeah, there's going to be some things that go outside of capitalism in order to bring it to us. Things that maybe that are not so good, okay? But that doesn't change the fact that when you tell investors you can do this with oil and you can't do that with oil, it's going to affect the prices. And also, let's not forget, I actually think Afghanistan has got a large part to play in this. And here's what I mean, okay? Let's say you are VP of an oil company and you negotiate a 20-year deal with the government that says, okay, this 1,000 acres over here will follow rules A, B, and C, and it's going to take at least 5 years before we're even pulling juice out of the ground, and probably another 5 years after that before we're at maximum efficiency, and then we'll have the second set of that 10-year period in order to turn a profit. But you can't trust the U.S. government anymore to follow through on things like that. If we will not honor a contract with a war-torn country, why in the world would we honor a contract with some evil, dirty capitalist that just wants to pollute the environment because climate change is the worst thing that ever happened to any of us?
And Mathey brings up a monopoly is supposed to be illegal. You know, that's a funny thing. Monopoly, the idea that the government should prevent monopolies, I've always found amusing, because the fact is there is no monopoly without government intervention. You cannot have a monopoly unless the government... Okay, in theory, it's possible. It's possible that in a completely free market, you produce a product and you happen to produce the best quality product and sell it at an unbeatably low competitive price, and there's just not a position on which anybody can compete. It's possible. But in order to actually have a monopoly without government intervention, you've got to be producing something that everybody wants at a price that nobody can match with uncompromisingly high quality. Because if you are producing a product of any kind and there's not a government with a gun enforcing your monopoly on the production of that product, then somebody is going to come in and say, hey, people want cheeseburgers, but they want cheaper cheeseburgers. So you keep making your badass 1 pound $7 cheeseburgers, and we're going to come over here and we're going to sell these little rat burgers for 50 cents. And people are going to buy them because they're cheap. But other people are still going to buy your stuff even though it's more expensive because it's better. If you happen to get that sweet spot, then it's theoretically possible, but nobody's ever done it. Monopoly cannot exist without enforcement by government, or at least through some mechanism of organized violence.
Actually, according to the U.S. government, Bill Gates did it in the late 90s when he figured out a way to put an affordable personal computer ready to hook up to the internet in practically every home in America. And then the government sailed in and basically broke Billy Boy's balls and turned him into one of their own.
And I can't believe I'm about to be defending Bill Gates, but the fact of the matter is that when that happened, there was a competitor that produced a similar product at a higher price.
Yeah, and nobody bought it. I mean, when you could go and you could pay a couple $100 to get a computer and hook that sucker up to the internet and be part of the online community. So, yeah. We have a troll.
Yeah, is this more gay jokes? Because that's always fun.
You should have been here in June, dude. That was Pride Month.
Yeah, I mean, we were actively trolling the gays for like 30 days.
I like how the dude is telling us we need to find a girlfriend when we've got 8 fucking children between us. You don't get that one from gay sex, dude.
I don't need more lovers, my man. I need a television.
Right. I don't need a girlfriend. I need a vasectomy. Oh. Anyhow. But yeah, all that's perfectly terrible. We gave away our strategic reserves on purpose.
I want to close on this point.
On purpose, it's not an accident.
The U.S. sent the oil, which was taken from the Strategic Petroleum Reserve that the Biden administration tapped into in hopes of getting mounting energy prices under control, to Asia and Europe. So, in the midst of constantly rising. Like we hit a new high every day for 2 weeks there. Yes, Danny, the trolls on Twitch. That's where most of our trolls come from.
And good morning to JDF.
Indeed. Good morning, good morning. But we've got Biden with obvious, super suspicious ties to China.
Giving China our oil.
Straight up bleeding our oil out of our coffers and handing it over to China. Hey, unverified bear.
Yeah, R.I.P. Georgia Guidestones. Yeah, fuck those Guidestones.
So, let's we got 5 minutes left, so let's talk about the Guidestones for just a minute. Corvo asks a reasonable question: is Chinese or Indian food better? They're equivalent because they're both served in buffet. Moving on. Kind of like I'm a big fan of popcorn and chicken because it's served in buckets.
Okay. All right. So, I don't want to do the Guidestones because I think they're a waste. Like, they're not even 50 years old, people. Like, it's...
Well, here's the thing about the Guidestones. The Guidestones were a monument to globalism. But there's a good argument to be made that the Guidestones were erected by a group of people because they were erected anonymously. Nobody actually knows who put them up. Well, I mean, obviously somebody put them up and they know who they are.
But, yeah.
Which would be amazing to find out, by the way. That would be fascinating and interesting. But the Guidestones were put up during the Cold War, right? They went up in 1980. The fear of a legitimate nuclear fallout winter was a serious concern.
Okay.
Well, okay, so maybe I'll just go back and figure out where I left you on the Guidestones and talk about that another time.
I told you the Guidestones are bullshit.
It's
God came in and said no. Hey, can we? I know, but can we close on the thing? I have things that I want to say about it. About the.
Oh, Steve says take your ass to Best Buy, fat boy. This is the new cable, Steve.
Anyhow, can we do the Jay Walker? See what I did there?
Oh.
See what I did there?
Oh, hey.
Watch.
It's got to be real quick.
No, watch this. Okay, we've talked about this before. Okay, how, dear left wing, all your martyrs are monsters. Okay, and we say that all your martyrs are monsters because if you had a bunch of examples of martyrs that were in fact not monsters, you would use them.
See them.
Exactly. So Jayland Walker was unarmed when 8 Ohio officers opened fire on him, body camera footage shows. Yes, it's funny that you mentioned that body camera footage because it shows a couple of other things, but let's just back up a quick step here, okay? He didn't do nothing, huh? He's just a good boy, didn't do nothing. At this point, whenever I hear the didn't do nothing, we call them dindus. D-I-N-D-U, dindu. Whenever I hear the dindu narrative, that's like strike 1 and 2 against the narrative that you're trying to push, because so often that narrative is a lie. Man, the chick that was shot in her bed, supposedly, God, I had her name, it was right there.
Breonna Taylor.
Thank you, Breonna Taylor.
Wasn't in bed?
It turns out Breonna Taylor was a suspect in serious drug trafficking charges and even concealing a murder.
And person of interest in a long, ongoing investigation, which led to the warrants, which led to the boyfriend opening fire on the police. And that's how she got shot. Yes.
Right. Yeah, exactly.
All your martyrs are monsters.
But she didn't do nothing, okay? Oh, and look, George Floyd, okay? Look, maybe you think that the cop that sat on him deserves to go to jail. Maybe not. Chris and I are obviously in the minority in thinking that...
George Floyd died with enough fentanyl in the system to kill several large grown men.
or one.
Or Stacey Abrams.
Or one Stacey Abrams. That is correct. That is absolutely correct. Okay? And let's be clear, George Floyd was on scene that day. He was buying drugs, and he tried to pass a counterfeit bill in order to do it. And let's even go back to the original one, Mike Brown, okay? Hands up, don't shoot, the thing that put this mind virus and gave Black Lives Matter its foothold in our public consciousness and allowed this lie to propagate, to propaganda gate. I thought I could roll off a pun there. It didn't work. No, I was trying to go for a pun.
I see.
I was... two words together. Okay? Hands up, don't shoot. Hands up, don't shoot. Except when the FBI came in and started interviewing people and telling people, okay, look, y'all, it's a felony to lie to us. So did this kid put up his hands or not? No. Turns out what Mike Brown had done is he had strong arm robbed a store clerk. There's footage of it. He grabs him by the throat and steals cigars from the man, right? So when he got approached by Officer Wilson just a few minutes later, Mike Brown thought he was being approached for the strong-arm robbery that he committed, okay? And he fought the cop and got himself shot. So why is this thing with Jayland Walker so important, okay? Well, there's a couple of things on that body cam footage. First of all, this is not the first time Jayland Walker ran from the cops, okay? He had actually run from the cops the day before. And I'm just going to say, who runs from the cops that's doing the right thing? Find me the examples of the person running from the cops doing the right thing. I'm sure there's one out there of somebody taking their pregnant wife to the hospital or some bullshit like that. But what about when you're wearing a ski mask and carrying a gun? And there was a gun in Jayland Walker's car. They found it in the back seat. Okay, here's the deal, okay? Body cam footage does show what appears to be a muzzle flash. The cops, on recorded audio, send out a call that says shots fired, so they believe they've been shot at. Okay, then Jayland Walker crashes his car into a police car. So that's twice now he's tried to use lethal force against them. And if you don't think a car is lethal force, I've got a shitty rapper and a Christmas parade in Waukesha that I want you to Google.
Yep.
Okay?
Say it with me now. Say love truck.
That's what it was.
Say love truck.
And then here's the bottom line to it, though. And I think that this is actually going to be the thing that clears these cops. And believe me,